Just hyenas are scavengers.
Yes, sir.
But you're talking about predators, and predators look for something that's easier. Why? Because the stronger the prey, the more risk and potential, the more energy they use. Energy is valuable like time is valuable to us.
Okay.
Mm-mm. So the grandfather is back, this time promoting more low level and low value thinking in the promotion of escorting. But come along with me as we delve deeper into why he is promoting this behavior and whom it ultimately benefits. We all know that this is one of the most dangerous professions any woman can involve herself into, and we also know that most women choose this profession as a last resort. Let's get into it. All right, so let's get into a little bit of something I like to call social grooming. This is a tool being used by Kevin to kind of put his audience and, for lack of a better term, the entire black community, his viewership, which we know is a lot of people, under his spell, okay? Um, this social grooming is so dangerous when you think about the widespread reach that Kevin has and how susceptible we are as a people to following what we consider to be good or well-intentioned advice. Okay, but first, social grooming. This social grooming piece that I'm going into is something that a lot of, for lack of a better word, predators use to manipulate younger people, to manipulate people into doing what it is that they would like for them to do. The context is a bit different when we think about a social trajectory because you are not actually in physical contact with this person, but the words and the manipulation and the outcomes are essentially the same. So most predators will begin this social grooming by gaining the trust of their victim, the person that they are interested in manipulating, okay, or abusing or getting something from. All right. So when we talk about gaining the trust, Kevin has strategically gained the trust of black men and black women as a collective, as we all know that we are, the basis of his audience. Of course, he has groups of other races, that listen to him and follow him. But for the most part, most of his audience are black men and black women. He's gained our trust as someone of authority, as someone who knows what he's talking about, as someone who can even help us get or accomplish the goals that we have set out for ourselves in terms of relationships or dealing with the opposite sex ourselves. So they first focus on gaining trust, and Kevin has done that. All right. The next step is that the master manipulator will find out what it is that he wants from his victim, whether that be sex or morally questionable behavior or money or anything else. He'll determine what it is that he wants from his victim and use his manipulative tactics in order to kind of get the victim to willingly give those things to him. All right. Since we know that this is a social thing, we know that Kevin isn't actually trying to get physical interactions from anyone, but what he is trying to do is to get notoriety, popularity. He wants to be mainstream. He wants to get support by viewership, subscribers, as well as monetary donations. And those are all things that he's gotten so far through his covert plan to manipulate the community. All right. So next, the manipulator goes into friendship forming. All right. He pretends or presents himself as a friend, as someone who is working in your best interest. Okay. We all know that the men of our community, the Black community, will say and defend Kevin and say that Kevin is speaking for all men. Kevin is able to say things that they haven't been able to say, or say things that they would get fired for saying. But Kevin can say those things and speak publicly and speak widespread for them, as a proxy for them, with the relationship forming. Not just the guys, but even the women in our community have a relationship with Kevin. We sometimes hear him being called the Godfather. So many people view him as the authority on the behavior of the opposite sex. And even so many women view him as their ticket to a husband. When the petition first came out, I got so many comments from girls, from ladies, saying that they were upset because they felt that Kevin was their only chance to get a husband. Yes, so many people feel that if they listen to Kevin or follow his advice, then they will be marriage material to marriage-minded men, all the while forgetting that Kevin himself isn't married and hasn't had a successful relationship. And most of his conversation is actually aiming to keep the sexes apart. The Black women and Black men that he supposedly wants to see together, he's actually keeping them further apart. If you pay attention to any of the people in his chats or any of the people in his community, these men do not want Black women. They go out and intentionally seek out women of other races and compare Black women to those women. And Black women never measure up. I'm going to do a video soon, if I have the time, talking about Jenny Mai. Kevin has promoted Jenny Mai as being something that Black women should look up to. But Jenny Mai is a 42-year-old divorced woman. Just imagine if a 42-year-old divorced Black woman, a 42-year-old Black woman who initiated her own divorce, who quote unquote broke her own home, was looking for a partner and coming to Kevin for advice on getting a partner. Just imagine how he would tear that Black woman apart. Now, this Black woman could be educated. She could have a lot of good things going for herself. She could be attractive. But the mere fact that she's 42, the fact that she's also divorced, will cause Kevin to tell her how she's basically going to die alone, or no man would want her. And people in his community would affirm what he say. They would say that that she has hit the wall, that no man would want her, that it's over for her. But somehow the men of Kevin's community and Kevin himself have exalted Jenny Mai and made her appear as somewhat of a prize to, in comparison to Black women in the same position. So when we talk about the relationship forming, that is the relationship. We have given Kevin the authority to say what it is, and whatever he says it is what we accept it as being, and we follow what it is that he has said, and we don't question it, okay? And then the manipulator also goes in to do threat gauging. We've spoken about how Kevin will say that women will die alone. Okay, Black women in particular will die alone. Now, these women can be, like I said, beautiful, educated. Their thing is from his perspective, if they have too much education, then they're unwanted and no man will claim them, and essentially they're going to die alone. If they are too old, if they are older than 25 or 35, they've missed their boat, they've hit the wall, and no man will want them, so they're going to die alone. If they have children out of wedlock, they made a bad decision. No man will want to be with them, so they're going to die alone. These are all of the threats that Kevin makes. But for some odd reason, he never seems to make those same threats against guys. These guys can be low achieving, low earning, low social skills, and we really don't talk much about the men dying alone. What we talk about more so is from Kevin's perspective of women lowering their standards, lowering their expectations, and getting with these men so that they won't quote unquote die alone. But the men have never stepped up, the men have never advanced themselves, the men have never done the work necessary to be, eligible bachelors. But for some odd reason, it's always on the woman to um, to lower her standards or lower what it is that she sees as adequate for herself in order to get with one of these men. All right. And a lot of women find themselves doing that because we all want relationships. We all want love. We all want marriage. We all want to be with another person. And the threat that's lingering over our heads from Kevin's mouth is dying alone. So then when we talk about the isolation that the manipulator promotes, he's essentially isolated Black American women as undesirable. As he had a show last week where he lied, straight up lied to his audience and said that he never said that Black women were ugly, and he did. He said that Black women were the least attractive women across the spectrum, but he pretended as if he didn't say those things to his audience because he knows that it sounds crazy, and he knows that women, once more women find out about this, they will not support that rhetoric. So instead of Kevin just being honest and saying, yeah, he did say that Black women were the least attractive of all other races, he just sat there and lied to all of us, like he does so many different times, but nobody really fact checks him. Or if you call into a show, he doesn't give you an opportunity to really get to the bottom of the argument or present whatever your evidence or facts are. But he just sat there and lied and made it seem as if he has not been banging on Black women for the past 2 years, about 2 years. Now, what Kevin has done is he's made it popular, he's made it acceptable for Black men to bang on Black women publicly, and then for men of other races to bang on Black women publicly. And this is the isolation that has occurred. Black women have been set aside from Kevin or by Kevin and the things that he said, and then from the community that supports him and repeats his rhetoric. Black women have been deemed as undateable, unmarriageable, bad mothers. There's a community of people that support Kevin that make videos about Black women all day, just totally disparaging Black women. And while there is room for growth, room for improvement, there are some things that Black women can improve upon. Black women, as a whole, are not as disrespectful, unwanted, and unattractive as they present us to be. And the isolation has caused Black women to kind of be, set aside out of society, where we just don't get the same protections that women of other races get. And when you think about their support of Jenny Mai in particular, since we just had the pregnancy announcement, when you think about the support of Jenny Mai in the community, the Black community in particular, then you will see, and that is just one example, as how women of other races are protected, and women of other races have the freedom to do things that Black women would be crucified for, whether that's leaving a marriage that is not working, whether that's waiting to become a mother until you are in a secure and stable marriage, whether that's expecting provision, security from your husband, whether that is going out to attain higher education. Whenever Black women do anything that another race of woman does, the black woman is crucified for it and somewhat has to explain herself to her community. And this is something that Kevin has promoted through his manipulative tactic of isolation. All right. So then the isolator, or I'm sorry, the manipulator will go in to further seek to abuse their victim. And we're talking about social grooming here, social abuse. So what Kevin is intending to get is more popularity and more money and more mainstream attention. But this is all being done on the backs of black women. Black women are carrying the brunt of his desire or his quest for mainstream notoriety, his quest for financial security, his quest for popularity. Black women are the ones carrying the brunt of the abuse to attain those things, and that's just what it is. We have been disparaged in so many different ways. We have been deemed to be unattractive, undateable, all of that stuff, just so that Kevin can get the popularity that he's been seeking and get the financial stability that he's been seeking. All right. And then when you talk about the maintenance, the manipulator has to maintain this. So this is why Kevin has the shows that he has a few nights a week. He mentioned that he was gone for 2 weeks and there was crickets. Now listen, the damage has been done to the community already. So if Kevin never makes another video, his community of followers will keep black women in the position that Kevin has directed us to, has placed us in for years to come. Black women are going to suffer under what has been done to us from Kevin and his community for the next, I'll say, 20 to 30 years. There will be a generational impact from this thing that Kevin has done. Kevin will be somewhere on the French Riviera, living it up, on his yacht with his younger women of non-black ancestry, okay? And our community will be in shambles for the next few generations to come, just over the ideas, the social grooming that has taken place, that Kevin has laid out there, and his community of followers have supported and reiterated and repeated and kind of pattern their lives around. So when we talk about maintenance, those things are going to be maintained by his community of supporters. All right. And those community of supporters are sometimes called flying monkeys, like when you talk about a narcissist and use titling like that. I really don't get into labeling people narcissists, but if you really pay attention, just step back and pay attention to the past 2 years and kind of the dynamics of what's taken place and the reality of where we find ourselves today, you will see that the audience operates as Kevin's flying monkeys. They repeat what he say. They actually take what he says and use those things to kind of to pattern their daily lives behind. You'll see so many guys walking up to a woman and asking her what's her dress size, if she has any children out of wedlock, if she does, how many children she has, if she has any education. And these are all things that they use against her because these are things that Kevin has deemed as undesirable in women. So what this also does is this repels, so aside from his flying monkeys that kind of repeats what he says and brings his words to life and bring them from social media out into like daily life, it repels good men from standing up and speaking out about it because they don't want to be ostracized from the male collective. They don't want to be set aside from the male collective. So they just don't say anything about it, and we all suffer behind that.
Ladies, Godfather's back in the house, and the house is packed. Let's get the lights going on. We're going to get right into this one. I want to know what the term tricking, paying women for adult time. We're going to use clean language over here. Paying women for adult time. what is it called in every other community? Because apparently, black men in this particular part of the world seem to have a major problem with paying for sex. The world's oldest profession. It's not called the world's oldest profession for no reason. It's because it's the world's oldest damn profession. Every country, every place on the planet has had a point in time where they had couples and then they had their pleasure houses. Every continent, every civilization. The bottom line is there are a large amount of men, black men. In this conversation, this is about black men that have a real problem with the concept of paying for a woman's time. And I've heard some of the most, what I consider to be disingenuous arguments. One, I hear the law and order side. Well, currently it's illegal. That don't stop people from drinking and driving.
All right, so going back to our theme of social grooming, now you see that Kevin is taking an opportunity on his weekly show to introduce a concept to his audience, his primarily male audience. He wants them to consider paying for adult time or utilizing escorts for sexual activity. And you'll see as we travel into this video that so many of the guys are against the notion of it, but what Kevin wants to do is he wants to encourage black men to be more like other races of men and to partake in using prostitutes. All right, Kevin is presenting to his audience the idea, the thought of seeking out adult time with prostitutes or escorts as a viable alternative to building relationships with women in their peer groups. Okay, we're gonna get into it, but you'll see that he encourages young men that are 22, 23, 24 years old, to even save their money up to go and spend the money with an escort instead of encouraging them to begin to build relationships in their own peer groups. Now, when we talk about Kevin in terms of gaining the trust and his relationship that he's created with us, for all this time, we've been saying that he has been wanting to bring black women and black men together. But here in this video, this is an example of the manipulation. We see that his goal is really to just get easy sex or sexual interactions for his male counterparts or his male audience. It's not about creating relationships or fostering relationships or teaching the guys how to properly interact with women, or even instructing women on how to determine a good guy, a guy that she should take a chance on or spend time with. What he is talking about is quote unquote busting a nut and focusing on getting sex for his audience. And even if he has to promote illegal illegal acts, that is his goal for his audience, and that's what he's going to promote. So he's promoting illegal activity, and he's focused on black men. He says that this conversation is for black men. So what he's encouraging black men to do is to participate in illegal activity, and none of us are like getting it. None of us are noticing it. But why is he so focused on black men utilizing escorts or prostitutes instead of teaching them how to associate with women, or even teaching women how to associate with them, since the goal is to bring us together? Why is there this focus on getting straight to the chase? We have an audience, his audience is for some odd reason comprised of a lot of guys who are lacking in social skills, a lot of guys who don't know how to interact properly with women, who haven't had success with women. And instead of teaching them how to be more successful, he's encouraging them to seek women who will accept money in exchange for sexual favors. And I just don't get why he would do that.
Of the matter, If that's the main reason for saying something against it, well, guess what? In Reno, it's legal. Amsterdam is legal. And in New York State, the governor, and I believe in New York City, the mayor, they have actually decriminalized. They have decided to not pursue the solicit. They have decided not to pursue the ladies of the evening. The only two things they are going to pursue, if anything, is the actual purchasers and the trafficking.
Okay, so here we have Kevin again wanting to encourage his audience, his male audience, to consider prostitution, to consider getting with the prostitute, or he called her an escort, in order to have sex. So he says that it's legalized in so many areas, and then he named 2 or 3 different places. But there are 50 different states in our country, and prostitution or paying for sex is illegal in the majority of those states. So he says that they are not going to pursue the servicers, which are the women, but they are going to pursue the purchasers, which means the men in his audience run a risk of catching a charge for going out and following Kevin's advice to have sex with an escort or a prostitute. They run a risk of getting a charge, right? Having something placed on their record. And he says that it's permitted, but it's only permitted in some brothels in Nevada. And it's not just like you can just go up and say, hey, I'm looking for some adult time and I'm willing to pay $350 for it. That is illegal. You cannot just approach a woman, even in Nevada, and say that you are interested in paying for sex. And like I said, it's only legalized in some brothels in Nevada. So if you go to Las Vegas and think that you see a woman out on the street and you can just go and approach her for sex, you might be approaching an undercover cop and finding yourself getting a charge in another state. Now, just imagine if you are a professional and you take this advice and you go to Nevada and somehow find yourself catching a charge over going to proposition a woman for sex. Now, that has impacted the rest of your life. That charge is on your record. So whenever someone does a background check on you, they will see, and especially in terms of employment, they will see that you have pursued a woman for sex and got a charge behind that. Why would Kevin promote that to his male viewership? Why is that an option?
But when it's all said and done, they ain't bothering either one of them. Oregon, same thing. And this is about to sweep the country. Why? Well, in the news today, you see what I said. To shout out to you OnlyFans girls down there in Miami. I told you, when OnlyFans is done, Subway will be hiring. Hope you got your application. And here's your pen. I got a pen for you. Carry your ass down to Subway and fill out an application, because in October, the adult content is a wrap. I said it, and that's what came to pass. So all these new entrepreneurs on OnlyFans, I tried to told you, you didn't want to hurt your godfather.
All right, so now Kevin goes in and focuses his attention on the women who provide the sexual access to the guys. He is laughing and somewhat gloating about OnlyFans having supposedly made a decision to end their adult content. But we now know, because I'm a little late on this video, okay, we now know that OnlyFans did not choose to end their adult content. And we know that the adult content will continue to stay on the site. So why was he so happy to hear that women were going to have to move from behind their phones or behind their computer screens and begin performing or offering those sexual experiences to men in person, like physically? He made the condescending remarks about having to work at Subway, or ridiculing women about becoming or about being entrepreneurs, where women who are working for OnlyFans are making a significant amount of money, a significant amount of income, and they're doing it in a relatively safe way, right? They are not having to be with these guys physically in order to get this income. But for some odd reason, Kevin wants you to be with these guys physically. He'll even go so far as to promote the illegal activity in order to get physical interactions for his male audience who trust him, who have a relationship with him. I mean, they call him their godfather, right? Kevin knows that OnlyFans was one of the more safer alternative for sex workers to do their jobs, right, more safely. But he knows that the men that are seeing these women in person some of them are dangerous, right? He knows that some of these guys, like some of the guys in his audience, lack social skills, social awareness. They don't know how to interact with women. He knows that some of these guys are socially awkward and emotionally unbalanced. He knows this, but for some reason, he's happy to now see that women are going to have to meet with these guys in person. Let's listen to what happens when they meet in person.
Brothel workers are putting their lives in danger to pay the bills. Janae Ryan takes you to the Mustang Ranch for continuing coverage on how they're navigating this pandemic to just make ends meet. Janae?
Yeah, Shelby, these women are telling some terrifying stories tonight. Some admit to turning to illegal prostitution, and some are sharing about being raped and beaten since the Mustang Ranch shut down in March. Now, we are hiding their identity so they could freely share what they're going through with you.
Thank you for calling the Mustang Ranch.
Hopeful customers ask the same question every day and get the same answer.
Yeah, our brothel is still temporarily closed.
After 8 months without clients, some working women are going broke.
So it's going to force me to do it illegal, which is very, 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 very dangerous.
Lady A says she used to do that.
It's so degrading. It's so scary. You just can't, I don't want to go back to that. Ever, ever, ever.
Another lady says she met a Mustang Ranch regular at a hotel and he beat and choked her.
And who are they going to call? They can't call the police.
The madams do what they can for their 200 now not working women. 2 needed saving.
The man came in, ended up holding them both hostage in the bathroom, the phone cords, the lamp cords, gunpoint, raped,
robbed.
They say they see their ladies now walking the streets, and pimps scare and chase the madams to keep them away. Lady B performs on webcam, but she says she knows workers now with pimps.
That doesn't end pretty. That doesn't end nice ever.
She says one disappeared while selling herself on the strip.
I hope she's okay, but no one even knows where she is.
Lady C also performs on webcam now.
I don't want to. I hate it.
She says it only pays a fraction of what she's used to, and it's scary.
If they find you, they don't just find you. They find your family. So here I am putting them in a dangerous situation.
Lady C strips too. One night she says she was in the VIP room and then
I was laying on the floor in the male bathroom with half my clothes ripped off, and I had blood all under my fingernails and flesh under my fingernails. So obviously I fought back.
Lady D is escorting, living at the ranch. She says while it was fully shut down, she was homeless, hopping strip clubs.
You're traveling to a new town. Sometimes people don't know where you're going. You're staying in hotels, temporary forms of housing. You're surrounding yourself with people you don't know. And that can be very risky.
The madams say the question isn't how long can the Mustang Ranch go on like this? It's how long can these ladies?
Now, and when these ladies can do their work legally at the brothel, security's constantly protecting them, and they have nonstop communication with managers.
Okay, so what we just learned from that news clip is that some of the sex workers that worked at the brothels that Kevin promotes, he promotes going to brothels, once those brothels were closed down for COVID, the sex workers continued to see their customers because the sex workers needed to continue to make a living during that time. And they found that when they stepped outside of the brothels, that things were much more dangerous, right? That those same customers that they saw under the security of the brothel had turned and raped them. Beaten. They were beaten by some of those very same customers that they would see at the ranch. The legal brothels are safer than street prostitution in Nevada. However, brothels in states where prostitution is still legal, those brothels are not as regulated as the few that you'll find in Nevada. But even when you look at the brothels in Nevada that are legalized and the unlegalized brothels that we'll find in any state and maybe even in your own neighborhood, you'll find that there is a middleman in the mix, which means that there's a man somewhere getting a cut, sometimes 50%. Those legalized brothels in Nevada, the man, the owner of the brothel gets 50% of a cut from any work that those women do in their brothels. Now, the unregulated or unlicensed brothels, they probably get more than 50%, but it's safe to assume that they get about 50% from those sex workers in those brothels as well. So also the brothels that are in Nevada, the legalized brothels, there's only a few of them, but you're more likely to have adult sex workers there in those brothels, whereas in those unlicensed or unregulated brothels, or even on street prostitution, which Kevin mentions, we'll go deeper into it, but he mentions going to Colombia or something like that, you're more likely to possibly run against underage sex workers because, again, they are, just looking to find a way to make a living. So here we go back to OnlyFans, and we know that these women are of legal age. We know that these women are usually in a safe environment, a secure environment. We know that these women are not having to split their earnings 50% with the brothel owner or the pimp or anything like that. And we know that these women are relatively safer because they aren't doing the physical or direct interaction with their customers, and we know that can sometimes be dangerous. So when Kevin is laughing about the adult content being ended or sex workers having to step from behind their screens or their computer screens in order to actually physically service these guys, what he's actually laughing at is the fact that he's promoting this activity and the women are the ones, that are taking the most risk. Their safety net has been removed, and we all know that once that safety net is removed, as we just learned in that news clip, that there is a significant risk of harm and danger for the woman providing the services. All right, so what we see here is that Kevin is interested in getting physical sex for lazy men who are not interested in developing themselves socially, emotionally, mentally, even to be able to approach women and to have organic relationships. And again, we'll go deeper into it, but this is something that he has recommended for young men and for older men his age who have grandchildren, right? He is interested in those guys going out and just simply paying for the sex or paying for interaction instead of cultivating and curating positive, healthy, and safe interactions for both men and women. And then not to mention helping the brothel owners get their 50% cut, as well as your everyday pimp. He'll benefit as well.
But I'm going to make money pimping your trick ass.
It seems as if Kevin is just interested in financial outcome.
So why is this important? Because there seems to be this notion that, well, it's just for especially in our community. I gotta just be honest. We have a lot of anti-folks over here. Up is down, left is right, good is bad. And all of a sudden when it comes to tricking, it's like, well, it's wrong. Really? This is where you want to draw the line on law and order?
Now, see, really, it's not just about drawing the line on law and order, but it's really just calling out the exploitation that happens in that line of work. The women are being exploited while the men get a cut for basically doing nothing, as well as the men who genuinely want relationships and want healthy interactions with women are essentially wasting their money. They aren't getting anything out of the deal except for
Doing okay.
temporary sex.
How old are you?
I'm 22,
22, a bit young. Single or married?
single, sir.
How much do you earn annually?
80,000.
All right. Why are you against the proposition?
Well, in all honesty, I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning towards disagreeing. I think my main argument is that it's really against uh, animal nature to pick something that is always that's there for you, at all times.
What?
I think it's against animal nature in the sense that no animal would choose to do something that is always there, if that makes
What do you
sense.
mean? Oh, wait, give me an example of what you're talking about.
So like a lion wouldn't scavenge if there were
Hold on,
wildebeest
man.
all
Hold on.
around.
See, that's where you just messed up. Hiring an escort is not scavenging.
But in
Hold
my
on, hold on, hold on. You're flawed. See, when you said nature, you were automatically wrong because if you don't think that predators look for the weakest, easiest kill, you're crazy. You're absolutely insane. It is smart to look for the easiest kill because it conserves the very vital thing, energy and resources. You just trapped yourself.
Can I retort what you just said?
Is that
Can I try
true?
to?
Is that true?
That is true. That
So
animals
it
always
is
do
not
for the.
scavenging. Do you guys seem to think we're talking about street walkers? Can you find a woman, 8, 9, or 10? The caliber of woman we're talking about is a higher end escort, not a streetwalker, not a back pager. Can you go find her, have sex with her at your leisure, at your pleasure, the way you want to do it off of your quote unquote game? Yes or no?
I would prefer to do it that way.
Can you? Today, do you have those skills? Hell no. Come on, even Josh is sitting here like, hell no.
Okay.
You know you don't.
No, and yes, that's a very valid point. Can I retort the point I was making about scavenging? I wasn't saying
Sure.
because scavenging really is the easier of options, right? But you don't see lions, the kings of the jungle. You don't see lions actively looking to scavenge.
First
They
off, you keep saying scavenge. I study
not to
animal
mean
nature. Stop saying
yes,
scavenge because lions aren't scavengers. But lions do look at the wildebeest. They do look at the water buffalo. And why do they go for the calves? Why do they go for the ones that are slowest, or old, or young, or vulnerable? You are just wrong. When you started talking about animal nature, that's my wheelhouse, homie.
yes, sir. Me too.
So you're talking about scavengers. Hyenas are scavengers.
Yes, sir.
But you're talking about predators, and predators look for something that's easier. Why? Why? Because the stronger the prey, the more risk and potential, the more energy they use. Energy is valuable like time is valuable to us.
Okay, so I'll retort on.
There's no retort, man. You're just wrong. I mean, you've already been proven wrong on 2 points. You want to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, making lions scavengers. Lions are not scavengers. They're not vultures. I mean, come on. As soon as he said that, you guys have to be thinking, what? You don't mean the lions look for the limping antelope, the limping zebra? Lions are like, ooh, coupon. I mean, come on. How many times have y'all watched this stuff? I watch this stuff all the time. Lions be like, do you see that? Do you see that wildebeest over there limping? Uh-huh. and and as a mama wildebeest just had a baby. Oh, a limping mama wildebeest and a calf, a 2-for-1. That's a Groupon to a lion. Y'all tripping. All right, it's almost 1:00. So that was good. So ultimately, you either paying cash or you're paying in soft dollars. And here's the thing, truly high value men know how much their time is worth.
All right, so here we have Kevin wanting to capitalize on the relationship that he's built with his audience and even get his audience to agree with the proposition that he set forward. Kevin laughs and he approaches this topic in such a jovial way, a trivial manner. But again, that just lends to the lack of maturity that Kevin has with very real subjects and the implications that those people who go out and follow his advice, the real consequences that they have to face for it. All right, but we have Kevin talking to a 22-year-old man who is saying that he is against propositioning women or seeking out escorts for sex. But Kevin basically admits that escorts are the weakest, quote unquote, or easiest kill. And that's what predators look for. He likened a lion to a predator and said that that's what they look for. They look for the weakest, the easiest kill, which would be those women that are exchanging adult time for money. And, my question is, why does Kevin want healthy, mentally, financially stable men to pursue easier options, right? Why is he not focused on creating healthier relationship dynamics with guys who can provide, that type of opportunity for women that are healthy mentally and physically and emotionally? Why not develop a healthier relationship dynamic? Why try to encourage the audience to take his side? Now, this is a live example of the social grooming that has been taking place over the past 2 years. Even if those of us in the audience are on the fence or maybe, straddling the fence about the proposition of the escorts, Kevin wants you to see it his way, to take his side, right? He talks about the cash versus soft dollars, but men are creating a family legacy, not wasting time. They're creating a legacy. That's their goal.
And, Patrice, for me, has always kind of been that dude, and we spoke about this briefly while you were on the show. But Patrice would talk regularly about how he would go to Brazil and get some of the finer women or some of the better, more professional ladies, and it was never an issue with him. He could balance having game with also having sex work. And I feel like you kind of may share some of those ideas, so I want to get your input.
Well, here's the thing. I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about one. You can't be talking about going to buy some streetwalker. You're talking about an escort. A person who, if they don't verify you, I don't want to fuck with them. If they don't verify you, they don't have a background check, that kind of stuff. You need to be worried about your safety, whether it's vice or whether it's blah, blah, or whether it's your health. But like you said, ultimately, you're paying for an outcome. And a woman who is a higher end escort, they have clients who have something to lose. So these women have something to lose. So all the horror stories that guys worry about get kind of minimized when you're dealing with somebody who knows what they're doing.
All right, so here we have Kevin here having a conversation with another really popular YouTuber. He's part of a duo named Abba and Preach. This one is Preach here. And what Kevin is doing here again is promoting prostitution. Now, he has someone who agrees with him. Abba agrees with him, and they are having a conversation regarding the benefits of guys seeking out escorts for sex. Kevin claims that this escorting is actually safer, but I'm really beginning to question for whom. who is the person that is protected in this escorting dynamic that you're promoting? Let's see. A lot of times, well, it seems that Kevin is talking about the safety of the man. It's safe for him because the woman isn't going to tell, or he won't be caught on the street soliciting a streetwalker. But what about the ladies, the sex workers' safety? Is it safe for her to be servicing the guys that you are encouraging to try escorts as a novice? These guys lack social skills. Most of them are vulnerable. Most of them are impressionable. They have very little success with women in their day-to-day lives. They are emotionally immature for the most part. I mean, even you struggle with your maturity, Kevin, and they are unable to handle rejection. And the underlying thing here is that most of these guys want relationships. You're encouraging them to save up their money so that they can go and just spend it on an escort to have one night with an escort. But these guys are looking for real relationships. They're looking for healthy interactions with women. These men want girlfriends, and a lot of these guys, in their emotional immaturity or lack of social skills, somehow believe that these women are their girlfriends. Okay. We had a case to happen, really sad case of this beautiful lady on the screen, Mercedes Moore, to lose her life after you promoted all of this prostitution and escorting and stuff like that. We had a lady who has a strong following, or had a strong following on social media, on Instagram. She also had an OnlyFans account, and she was providing those images to guys similar to those that would be following you as well, Kevin. And we found that she was taken out of here by someone that her family considered to be a stalker. Okay, and this woman here, may have sold the fantasy to men like what you are encouraging your followers to partake in, where they have access to a lady who is an 8, 9, or 10, and they may be okay with exchanging funds, for pictures or quote unquote adult time, having that transactional relationship. But again, these men are wanting more. These men want girlfriends. They want relationships. You have boiled it down to just having sex or quote unquote busting a nut. But these guys are looking for more meaningful interactions and relationships with these women that you are encouraging them to go and meet up with. And like I said, when we go back into that emotionally immature behavior, or the lack of social skills, or even these guys that have not been taught to handle rejection, because like you just advised the 22-year-old to think more in a predatory mindset and to pursue women who were a quote-unquote easier kill. These men have not developed themselves socially enough in order to speak to women, in order to interact with the women that are the 8, 9, or 10s that they want, and understand that it is a transactional relationship.
And number one, number two, the experience is what they're there for. It's like going to Outback to get a steak versus going to the buffet to get a steak versus going to a 5-star steakhouse. They are there to please you. That's their job. They're trained in the GFE, the girlfriend experience. They have a menu of services that they call languages. And like you just said, and like that one young lady said, that she learned how to give a great blowjob by watching porn. These women study pleasure. They study
providing the girlfriend experience. Would you say that, Jessica? I would say she was. I would say she was providing the girlfriend experience, and he realized that it was fake, and he flipped.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Yeah, but hold on. Hey,
She's a liar. What are we talking about?
She was selling him something. It might not be true, but she's selling him an experience. And if you don't know, the girlfriend experience is a real thing. They have hugging services that you can pay for online, where you get a woman to come over and give you a hug.
Yeah, cuddle
like
shit.
this. Yeah, this
Cuddle-
stuff is all
cuddling
out
service.
there.
So this is a picture of the guy that was stalking Mercedes, and it's such a sad story. It's just such a sad story because we have here Kevin, someone that we have a relationship with, someone that we feel that we have a friendship with, someone that some of us even considers to be a godfather or an advisor in our lives, promoting such dangerous activity publicly, encouraging men to participate in this lifestyle, and even trying to encourage his audience to join in on the promotion of this lifestyle. But you have Mercedes, a woman who sold that quote unquote girlfriend experience, and had to pay the ultimate price, and it's because Kevin continues to ignore that men actually want relationships instead of ending up with failed relationships, failed marriages, estranged children, situation with estranged and unsupported children. These people are coming to Kevin for sound advice, and instead what Kevin is advising them to do is to save time and to just spend money on the end result, which is the quote unquote busting a nut that he mentioned, but not really encouraging them to spend time with investing in a woman, investing in family, investing in a relationship, investing in a future. And these guys somehow feel that the money that they're spending with these women give them an opportunity to have that at a shortcut. But what it does is just creates frustration
Normally, I don't
in
think
them.
the sex aspect, if that's what happened, was ever an issue. It's that the simp catches feelings. That's the whole problem with that situation, when the woman and the man, and it's supposed to be about money, when the simp starts making it about, well, wait a minute, I feel a certain kind of way, I don't know, sometimes when you go to work, or even women walking up and down the street, when I see you out there, I don't want, dads, when they be like, nah, baby,
But
this, let me do my job, and
do you think that it was that simple? Like, do you think she wasn't leading him on and he was just giving her all this money? Or do you think she was, getting his feelings in it, making him
man,
think that something could happen? And
when
that's
you
where you see the anger come from.
well, that's normally where it happens. I'm saying, it's like, as a man, it starts out like you accept a monetary transactional relationship, but as a man, there's a void, like the women talk about. There is a void that is not fulfilled because it's nothing romantic, it's nothing affectionate, and that's when they get into what they say women lead men on or whatever. And who knows? Like I said, it's hard to, from what the evidence we've had, we can only speculate. But that's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of people, even strippers, just a stripper, there are certain customers who can come to a strip club, a business, and they can say, this guy right here, a woman will say, hey, he's a good customer, but when he gets a little liquor in him and he starts buying dances and he won't even let me leave. And I don't even want, I mean, I like the money, but I'm just afraid of him because he keeps me in the back too long, you know, and he starts talking about meet me out the club, so they won't dance with him. Security guy come in, security be like, I've seen them not let guys in, just regular people. They said, no, we deny you as a couple, because you can't handle yourself. You go in here trying to talk to these women, you go in here like these women,
They study pleasure, and they learn how to actually make repeat clients, because their preference is not to do 30 different dudes. They just want to have the same regular guys that they actually develop a ongoing relationship of sorts with. So I think guys need to start understanding that, when you talk about the amount of time you got to talk to a woman, try to court, and then you end up getting some whack ass, and you just spent 20 hours of your time, plus you just looking at hard dollars, soft dollar costs.
Again, when we go back into how Kevin initially presented himself and the social grooming that is taking place on these few streams that I've put together here in this video, but the social grooming that has taken place over the past 2 years, you really have to wonder, what is going on here? What is going on here? We have Kevin speaking about guys wanting to have the girlfriend experience, wanting to have the familiarity with the woman that he finds sexually attractive. And then you also have Kevin speaking about those same escorts that he is encouraging guys to pursue, saying that those escorts also want relationships. They want to have a familiar acquaintance with the guy. They don't want to have several different customers or have a constant stream of strangers coming in. They want to build relationships of sorts, is what he said, with their clienteles, and have a few guys, that are repeat customers. So if we know that the guys are interested in more serious relationships, the callers into the show have mentioned that they would like to have relationships. Kevin mentioned that the guys are interested in a girlfriend experience. And then Kevin has also mentioned that even the escorts are interested in relationships of sorts. Why are we continuing to promote transaction-based relationships or temporary fixes to what both sides are looking for? And why would Kevin use that as, the first option when he's led us all to believe that what he's interested in doing is bringing Black men and Black women together to have healthy relationships and to create a better community? How can we do that through transaction-based relationships?
And today, with the state of what's going on right now, younger guys, unless you're in that selection of guys who have access to many women, what are these young guys going to do? It's better to go ahead and learn. I would say, take your $350, go get you an in-call and call it a day. Instead of going to the drunk club trying to try to take somebody home for a one-night stand and mess around and come back
she's not
with
even groomed. She probably smelled from having drank and danced all night. And
Yep.
she might not be even really present to give you anything good. But somehow people really believe that a drunken hookup or some random person at a club is somehow more rewarding or satisfactory. I'm like, you must have not been out here and done these things for you to say that. I've felt that disappointment so many times, and it's a giant waste of time.
So here we have Kevin speaking with a friend, I guess, Abba, and Abba even admits that he lacks the social skills in order to have, healthier interactions with women. Kevin is encouraging, again, young boys, young men, young guys, college-aged guys to save up their money for one night. And it's not even one night, okay? Kevin is mentioning $350, but I don't know what kind of woman he can get for $350, but if he did get a woman for $350, this is not a 2 or 3 or 4 hour meeting. This is 20 or 30 minutes. And some of the people in Kevin's own community speak to the reality of what that type of transactional relationship looks like, what it feels like, and it's void of emotion. It's void of intimacy. It's void of what the guys are really looking for in terms of relating and being with the woman. It's a transactional based relationship where you come in with money in hand and they allow you to spend a few minutes with them. And after those minutes are spent, then you leave. And what Kevin is saying is that when you leave, you should go back, start saving up money again, so that when you have enough, then you can go and meet your escort lady again. Instead of creating the dynamics, leading guys into having healthier interactions with women, and like Abba said, going out, meeting women in places where it's a mutual thing, a mutual environment, and getting to know a woman. Instead, they are interested in the end result, which is sex, which is still unfulfilling for them and not sustainable.
Brother, I actually told a story on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I actually took a high-end escort to a company Christmas function. And I'll tell the story. Maybe when we do another piece of content, I'll tell that story.
Okay.
Okay, so here we have Kevin alluding to a story he told on the No Jumper podcast, I think it was, where he basically, brought an escort out to a work function, and the escort was familiar to one of Kevin's superiors. The superior ended up being in a bathroom with Kevin and mentioned to Kevin that he also had purchased time with the escort, and thought that Kevin made a great decision in choosing to bring her. And following that interaction, Kevin was promoted and received so many different benefits because he had made a good decision in choosing that one particular escort. What really happened was, for Kevin, is that he used his $350. Let's just say it was $1,000 that Kevin paid, because Kevin says that that he paid a lot. So let's just say that it was $1,000 that Kevin used. Kevin gave this woman $1,000 to come in escort, or to come with him to the Christmas party. And from then, he received promotions and advancements and just accolades from the guys in his circle, whereas the woman just received a one-time payment of, the $1,000 to escort him out to that party. And Kevin used her to elevate his profile, to have a woman there with him, and essentially after he was able to use her for her presence and use her for whatever his goal was, he sent her back out, and then Kevin benefited time and time and time again just from being seen with this one woman. He benefited by having his profile raised at work, and being able to be exposed to different people in different situations, different environments that he wouldn't have been privy to if he had not taken that one particular escort. So Kevin is just teaching men how to use women to get what it is they want, and then discard them.
I think everybody has to come from where they know, and most people associate hiring somebody as somebody that just walking down off the street. Mm-hmm. I'm more concerned with my safety, my health, and then legally.
Kevin, you continue to talk about your safety, your health, your legal precautions that you're taking in promoting men choosing to get with escorts over, developing, honest and intentional relationships with women. But the guy, this Kevin guy, that was responsible for ending Mercedes' life and subsequently taking his own life, would have passed every background check that you could imagine. He, from what I understand, did not have a criminal record. He didn't have any charges. He likely, I'm sure, would have passed us an STD or health screen. And it was also said in the days after the story broke that this man also lived in a $500,000 home, which would lead us to think that he has the financial security needed to pass those background checks. So when you talk about your safety, what about the safety of the escorts? What about the safety of, these women that are providing the services? Yes, they are getting, the transactional based relationship there, they are going to get the money. But what they're doing is servicing men who have not taken the time to develop themselves socially, mentally, emotionally, like in just any way, and know how to effectively and deal with women in a healthy way. You are not encouraging them to take the time out to learn how to deal with women in a healthy, sane way. Instead, at 22, at 23, when men should be in the club dancing with sweaty women and interested in getting to know them in different ways, you are interested in those guys saving money up to go and see a woman one time. What about her safety in dealing with
down here
those
in
kinds of
Atlanta,
men?
about a month ago, a dude got knocked off for $1 million in jewelry. What'd he do? He met a chick at the club, took her back to the hotel, bang, put his stuff in the safe in the hotel. He wakes up in the morning, showers on. He thinks she's in there. Then he realizes that she had got him for all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I am all for legalizing it. I'm all for, like, if there was something called the Moonlight Bunny Ranch in Reno, Nevada, and there was a series on HBO. When you start understanding that it's actually more cost effective to do it this way, and then when you start talking about things that you've had and I had, the average guy is not going to be able to get a threesome. You're not going to be able to negotiate that. And if you do, are you going to be able to get the quality and quantity of woman you want to get?
Mm-hmm.
Better to go pay for it. So I wanted to jump in on this because I heard a lot of back and forth going on.
What about bringing men and women together? Black men and black women. What about bringing men and women together for relationships? I'm still not understanding, as the godfather, as the person who is the key to determining good black women and good black men and helping us come together, why do you continue to encourage men to pay for it?
Yeah. And I think there are good points on either side. Here in the United States, I'm sure you guys have talked about it, how New York City just quote unquote decriminalized prostitution. The governor, yeah, because what's about to start happening in this economy, this is about to become a more common occurrence. Now, the difference between that is there are going to be people who are professionals and there are going to be people who are bootlegging.
Yes.
I say stick to the professionals. And I'll drop a little piece of knowledge. For people who want to know how to try this out, go to a website.
Now Kevin actually drops a website. I blocked it out because I am just shocked that Kevin wants men to pursue these transactional based relationships so much that he's encouraging novice men who don't know anything about escorting or that whole life, to go and seek out escorts. So much that he'll give you the website information for you to do so. Guys who are interested in pursuing escorts and paying for adult time know how to do that. Why is it disingenuous for the person you consider to be the advisor, like the bridge between men and women and getting into healthy relationships and marriages? Is it disingenuous for this person to go so far out there to encourage men to pay for sex? Is it disingenuous? I'm just
Those
wondering.
men like that are weird. They've been known to go after those women. Those men are weird. You can have a dude that's giving a woman money for a year, and because what he would consider a breakup, the woman continues her life, and them dudes show up like they're boyfriends. So it is very dangerous just dealing with those men. Like I said, those are not those. Look, I don't know if you guys been to
It
strip
is
clubs.
dangerous. Colby Co says, "Look at his haircut for his age. He's a social reject." Yeah, I think he's not even that old. I think he's like 34. He's 34, and he looks a bit like grubby here. And this is the thing. When I first looked at it on face value, I was like, "This guy doesn't look like a sugar daddy." He doesn't. But sometimes there isn't always an image. You can look at some of the richest guys in the world and they're very plain looking. They're not flashy. They're not extravagant with their appearance. Just kind of look just plain and basic. And I think it's the facial hair. Maybe if if he'd shaved it, he wouldn't look as, grubby.
The really crazy thing is that you can say that some of the guys Kevin was speaking to about escorting or purchasing escorts, could have this, a similar appearance. I mean, you could say that, right? Yeah. But let's take a look at how these guys, the guys in Kevin's community, leading, leading thought, those with leading thought in the community, how some of them actually view sex workers, okay? Not all of the guys in the community view sex workers in this way, but there is a huge percentage of Kevin's followers and also people who are leading thought makers in the community that view sex workers that
The
same
lady
way.
is a sex worker. We all know this.
We
So
don't know that.
trying to, primp it up with, oh, it's an IG model. No, she was a whore. Come on now.
We don't know that, man.
Again, why all of a sudden do black people especially, and we saw this with two individuals last year that were killed by police. Why is it that black people can't stand their family members, their close friends? I don't deal with them. I don't. But these complete and total strangers. Listen, man, I don't have no emotional attachment to some IG OnlyFans chick. I don't owe her anything. Again, people die every day. As men, we're supposed to understand that. And that's not being disrespectful. Again, it's just a fact. People die. Man, people get murdered every day. Right now.
Fantastic. We lost a good one, man.
Hold on. I didn't interrupt you. I let you go. I let you go. There are children getting killed, and there's no, oh my God, what about the baby? What about the this? OnlyFans chicks sets herself up, okay? Or not necessarily set herself up, but due to her lifestyle, okay, we know this now. It's evidence. The evidence support exactly what we said. She chose this life. She chose to have an interaction with a man and do whatever she did, play with his mind or sell him whatever, who knows what have you. and she gets what she gets from it, and I'm supposed to be sad? No. Shout
I
out
think it's
again.
still wrong what happened. I think it's
But
still
Jessica,
wrong.
wrong things happen every day. She's not special. There's a child being abused to death right now, Jessica,
No, I
somewhere,
get you.
several
I
of them.
get you.
Okay, and
But
there's
it's not
And
their
that's
never
a
voice.
been.
and
Hold
that's
on,
a
let me
tragedy
finish this.
too.
Let me finish this. And there's never this response. There's never this outcry for sympathy. It doesn't even get talked about. You know what I'm saying?
Do
So
they
I
have
don't
OnlyFans?
give a damn about a grown ass woman that chose to sell her ass on the internet, and she end up getting what she got from it. I'm sorry.
Well, one of my
Well, I
things.
just want to state the obvious. I'm just happy, rest in peace to the young lady. It's a sad situation, but I'm just happy it wasn't a black man.
It took a man to say what the fuck I just finished saying. You understand what I'm saying? All of a sudden now it's credible because when it comes from a hoe, don't nobody listen. You could discredit a prostitute very easily. All you gotta say is, "Oh, she's a hoe."
So Kevin is encouraging women to participate in this lifestyle, knowing that men in his community, men that are hearing him or being encouraged by him to seek out these women, don't respect the women who provide these services. This makes the women vulnerable because if something does happen to these women while they are out providing these services, we know that the men are not going to see her life and even her work as valuable. We know that they'll use that as an opportunity to discredit her and justify the abuse that she
It's a
suffered.
dangerous industry, and no one really speaks about that part, but it is dangerous. You never know who you're dealing with. Said it, you need to be careful with some of these simps. Simps tend to be emotionally unstable. She played into it, but again, that emotional instability.
So, if everyone knows that these guys can be emotionally unstable, why is Kevin promoting this type of activity to those men instead of encouraging them to enrich themselves and level themselves up so that they can have healthier interactions with
Against
women?
the topic.
Sure.
So
Sorry.
appreciate it. I mean, enjoy Columbia. Damn. I know you having a good time.
For sure.
Woo. I know you having a good damn time in Columbia. Shit, send me a postcard. Please. If you don't think that I would not go down to Columbia and find the best brothel with the clean, I'm not going to risk my life in Columbia trying to negotiate this shit through Google Translate. Yo quiero Taco Bell. Where, Sophie Vergara. Mm-hmm. Where's she at? Mucho dinero for Sophie Vergara. I speak no Spanish, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My Roman name was Maximus Escortus Tricus. Sophie Vergara? Yes. Mucho dinero. Yes. Don't fucking mind. Let her come through here looking like, hello, papi, amayo mia. You better skip a meal, nigga. Get you something else in there. Shit. Why these fools down the club? 3 more tequila shots. Yeah, man. We're going to take her back to the room. Need me one of these myths. 3 Negro tourists found in hotel missing kidneys. With dirty dicks. Mess around and be banging a man. You better get out of here. Look.
Now, this is somebody's godfather. This man is old enough to be a grandfather, promoting going to a brothel in foreign countries just to participate in sex. That is what he is using his platform for. Platform of millions of 1 million followers, listeners, potentially, promoting them to go and see a Sofia Vergara look-alike. Not even the real Sofia Vergara, but a look-alike that is found in a brothel. Kevin is promoting, he's telling his viewers, the people that are listening to him, the people who have entrusted him with advising them, he's promoting those guys also going out to brothels to find celebrity lookalikes just for sex. This is how Kevin is responsibly using the platform that he's created.
When I finally started realizing this is stupid. When I'm going into River Oaks or the Galleria area in Houston, and I'm sitting around with my frat brothers talking about all the game we ran and all the pussy we got, and these goofy white dudes and these goofy Asian dudes were pulling up in their Mercedes and this and that, and we were getting out of Honda Civics and Accords. When I go to work and my boss has an MBA, but he's not as smart as I am, but he's making more money than I am, but I report to him. And all the guys that went out on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night look like me, but all the people in middle and executive management look like them because they were putting their time and competency. That's when I realized this is not smart.
I agree. I can agree with that.
So I agree that there is something that needs to be said for the ability to approach.
See the difference, Kevin, between those guys who were your supervisors, who were your bosses, who you worked for, and you and the community of men that you are leading and ideals that you are promoting and setting in place, is that when those guys were 52 years old, like you are, they took their responsibility of leading the younger generation more seriously. And what they encouraged those men to do was to meet women and create families and build legacy. They encouraged their women, their children, their sons, their nieces, their nephews to go out and seek higher education, to go out and sustain degrees, to earn and attain degrees, so that 10 or 15 or 20 years later, they could be your boss. While you were sitting there getting excited about sex and then promoting now to very impressionable masses the importance of sex over building legacy, building things that are significant and sustainable, that's what they did. Whereas you were excited to go to Colombia to have sex with a Sofia Vergara lookalike. You made that seem to your audience as such a great thing. Whereas those men that you just described, those men who wrote your checks, who signed off on your checks, they promoted real significant advancement through family, through education, through things that really matter, versus going out and soliciting escorts for one night or a few minutes of fun, a few minutes of adult time, wasting time, wasting time and resources, trying to find ways to get some easy sex. They instead encourage those under them, those grandfathers, those men who were 52 years old like you are, encourage their youth to spend their time more wisely. How about you give it a try?
When I was in college, my freshman year, I got some action, but low. But when I saw what the football players were getting and the fraternity guys were getting, but my freshman year, second semester, I pledged Kappa and crossed over 9,000, ninja. Please believe. You cannot be on here without being on camera.
Okay, Kevin, I don't know if you're saying you had sex with over 9,000 women after you pledged, but let's just say that you did and you aren't lying, because we know that you be lying, okay? What's stopping these young men from going to college and also interacting with women in their peer group just as you did, to the tune of 9,000 women? What's stopping them? Why do they
Continue
need
to
to
do the
go see
first part of life.
escorts?
Hunt a woman, lay her. Hunt a woman, lay her. You're not talking to somebody who ain't fucked a lot. I've had a lot of sex. I am in the triple digits, been there for a long time. Got lots of game. Guess what? You don't learn how to be involved and stay involved doing this part over and over again. So and guess what? I even have been able to use my game as a transferable skill to build my corporate career. Most people don't have that because they don't work in an environment.
Okay, so Kevin, if you are a guy that has quote unquote fucked a lot, okay, you see now that that it doesn't account for much after you get out of college, right? So why are we continuing to promote quote unquote fucking a lot to the youth when we know that it ultimately accounts for nothing? If you're saying that what you did does not teach men how to have healthy, long-lasting relationships and you don't have one yourself, then what is the point of encouraging them to pursue those kinds of relationships? Why not encourage men to have relationships that will not only benefit the community, but will benefit themselves as well, where they can grow old? They can be 52 years old like you, but unlike you, they can have a wife or children or grandchildren or a legacy that they created, cultivated, built, and now it has sustained themselves and is able to sustain them into their older years. Why not promote something like that for them?
And I'm thinking it's crazy that of all the women's channels on YouTube, the women who claim that they're about helping Black women, none of them are speaking about this. I'm like, why are none of them addressing this issue? This is a Black woman that just got murdered. Why are none of them addressing this? Why is no one speaking up about it? Why is no one telling them, like, listen, ladies, you maybe don't want to live this lifestyle. What we see right here with Mercedes Moore is an indication of, do you really want to go down that road? Do you really? None of them are addressing it. Why?
Okay, well, I have finally taken the time. I've finally gotten the opportunity to get this video out, and I'm gonna speak out about it. Ladies, you don't want to waste your time following into anything that Kevin has encouraged in this video. Guys, you don't want to waste your time following any of the advice that you've heard in this video from Kevin. You end up with nothing. You end up frustrated. And ultimately, it's just a huge waste of time. So, yeah, I'm going to speak out about it. And, this is another reason why I encourage I encourage the women that I communicate with not to date anyone who listens to Kevin Samuels. Not only are his arguments usually asinine, but the guys who listen and follow, who listen to him and follow his advice, are not guys that are genuinely interested in building, impacting long-lasting relationships with you that will ultimately and in marriage and children and family. These guys are interested in using women to get what it is that they want out of women, to get what it is that they need from women, whether that is sex or to elevate their profile or just to have some cute piece of arm candy, you know, walking with them for a few hours. These guys really don't see value in women. They don't see value in relationship. They don't see value in marriage. They don't see value in family. These guys ultimately will waste your time. That is why I say do not date someone who listens to Kevin Samuels, and definitely do not date a guy who subscribes to the red pill ideology or whatever this color pill ideology that Kevin is promoting. It's a waste of time. So yeah, thanks for encouraging women to speak out about it. I'm speaking out about it, and I'm encouraging women that hear my voice and want a significant, a substantial, and impacting relationship with a man who want marriage, who wants to have children. Steer clear from these guys. Steer clear from anyone, from any man that you know follows Kevin, all right, or listens to Kevin's advice. Ultimately, it's just a waste of your time.
Something is wrong with you. But I'm going to make money pimping your trick ass.